You are the most interesting thing in the universe. Well, you and everyone else. So after saying that, let's get one thing clear. When I say you are the most interesting thing in the universe, the intention is not to inflate your ego or give you some sort of God complex that you are the prettiest, dopest, funniest, smartest being in the world. In fact, this has nothing to do with you at all. And I know that may seem a bit contradictory with my opening line, but I want you to focus less on the you portion of this thesis and more on this interest portion. That'll assuage any confusion. Now, with this reframing in mind, I say to you this. Nothing is interesting until you think it is. And the ability to make this decision and assign care for things takes us to our key topic of the day, which is this idea of the essence of interest. The essence of interest represents the notion that all human beings have the ability to define what they think is interesting. This notion's purpose is twofold. First, the essence of interest challenges any notion that objective interest exists. It also asserts that there is nothing fundamentally uninteresting. So here's a quick thought exercise that can reconcile any protest to this assertion. Many people find dirt, yes, dirt, to be uninteresting. But does that mean it's actually not interesting? Well, the answer is of course not, because if that were the case, there wouldn't be entire fields of studies around this concept of dirt. There wouldn't be pedagogists who specialize in soil formation, nor would there be soil ecologists, ediphologists, or agronomists. And I want to make clear, I had no interest or knowledge of any of these professions prior to saying this. But just because I had no interest in these fields of studies does not negate A, their existence, or B, the fact that people do find this study to be interesting. All it means is that I personally wasn't interested. And I'm sure there's plenty of things that you lack interest towards as well. If, for example, you fundamentally don't think math is interesting, I'm with you, brother. That doesn't mean that math isn't interesting. It just means you are not interested. So therefore, for you, me, and any of us, this cogent truth emerges. Nothing is interesting until you think it is. Once we fully accept the premise that nothing is interesting until we think it is, it allows us to observe two key facets of this essence of interest theory. Number one, we individually define our interest. And number two, each interest stands as an independent entity. Recognizing these two truths positions interest as a ubiquitous yet personalized resource. One that is accessible to everyone but uniquely expressed in each individual. This is the most concise definition of the essence of interest. Of course, in the same way we define what is interesting, we also determine what is not. That same internal mechanism that sparks curiosity is also the one that creates disinterest. But like we went over in the last section, the absence of a desire to engage with a particular subject does not negate that particular subject's potential intrigue. It just means we feel our attention is better directed elsewhere. This means that disinterest is not a flaw of the subject that we are disinterested in. Rather, it's a reflection, a filter of our self. And all of this is just further evidence that we all have the ability to distribute this essence of interest. Now that we've proven its existence and we all acknowledge that we have the ability to distribute it, we can now start to understand the way in which the essence of interest can impact our lives individually. Its absence would imply an inability to distribute interest at all, which means that we would find nothing to be either interesting or disinteresting. And I think that's so interesting. When we look around the world, there is just so much to be inspired by, so much beauty, so many objects and ideas that are worthy of interest, and we often do take interest in. Which is funny because, as we know, nothing is interesting until we think it is. Because the essence of interest is not external, it's within. Honestly, it's probably why we all experience the world in so many different ways, and it's plausible to even think that due to the essence of interest and all of us having our own unique ones, that is what in some part has caused so many of the divisions we see across societies, between ideologies, perspectives, across nations. Because our interest, or lack thereof, determine and shape how we perceive our truths, meanings, and develop different moralities. Now, we won't step too deeply into that messy discussion, but we could still use this proof of concept it demonstrates in order to illustrate the idea of this next section. The universe offers a catalog of ideas, but if nobody was ordering, that catalog would have no purpose. The universe loves when we consume its offerings, share it with one another, and create our own. But if we stopped showing interest in this catalog altogether, the catalog fundamentally could not be interesting because only humans can assign it such a prestige, this title of interest. The universe can offer its substance, but only its creatures can create with it. And luckily for the universe, the instinct to survive has forced us to be creative. As all of our different species have competed in this battle of the fittest, we've been forced to find creative ways of evolving both physically and cognitively. Over time, interest became a survival trait, and creation became a necessity. In this way, survival didn't just lead to existence, it led to expression. And that expression is what leads to the universe being able to be knowable and given titles like beautiful and spectacular, and the bad names too. Our ideas that we've created have made the world worth exploring. Because without assigning value to the stars or the oceans or all of these endless symphonies of randomness, they would have no meaning, story, or purpose. We are the narrators of the universe. So when I say the universe needs you to be interesting, I mean it quite literally. It needs you to care. It needs your perception, because without your interest, the universe would not have an identity. And I think that this should empower you to recognize the power you hold. You hold the essence of interest, and we know that without the essence of interest, the universe could not be interesting. Therefore, if you are the thing that defines how interesting the universe can be, then you are in fact the most interesting thing in the universe. And because of this, I think it's profoundly important that we take a deep interest in ourselves. Doing so allows us to make our lives exponentially more intriguing. If the universe needs you to be interesting, then your life needs your interest to be fulfilling. Because if you're uninterested in who you are, the world will seem dull by reflection. Your life will just shrink into routines and monotony, not abundance or richness, the richness of life. And so we arrive at a critical question being, how do I become more interested in myself? Perhaps that seems daunting, but honestly, finding the place to start this inner journey is quite simple. You just have to think about what you find interesting. And once you've identified those sparks of interest, that's when it gets a little deeper. And personally, I think that this is where we fall short because we treat our interest like, oh, it's just a hobby. We never ask, why does this interest me? And it's that question that serves as the key to this inner exploration. So to help answer it, I want to introduce a framework called the mirror method. What's involved in the mirror method requires double D's and a C. That's not an innuendo. Double D's and C stands for 3 words: discover, discern, connect. So first I'm going to define what these words mean within the context of the mirror method, and then I'm going to perform the mirror method on myself in real time. So discover is the stage where you catalog your interest. In this stage, you simply write down anything that comes to mind, anything you might be interested in. It's where you identify the puzzles of your identity. So you could potentially do so by asking yourself a few leading questions like, what do I naturally gravitate towards? What topics or ideas keep resurfacing in my life? What are the things that grab my attention without any effort? So if you're still stumped after these questions, that's okay. Make it even simpler. Think about, like, if you were in a bookstore, what section would you go to first? Or maybe just think about the last time something excited you. Maybe it wasn't even something you noticed in the real world. Perhaps it was just something in your mind, a thought that came shooting through. The main idea of the discover stage is simply to identify any interests that come to mind. Again, they don't need to be remarkable or exceedingly significant. Just start with whatever is at the surface level of interest. If you can't go any deeper, it's fine. If it makes you curious, it belongs in this catalog of interest. There is no judgment here. This stage is solely for observation. Now, for each item in your curiosity catalog, ask yourself, why does this interest me? So let's say that you are interested in photography. When you ask this question, why am I interested in photography? What comes to mind? Do you just like snapping the photos? Does the button feel nice? Or do you like the idea that you are capturing a moment in time? Moments that are fleeting. Is it more artistic for you? Whatever these initial whys behind your interest are, also write them down. Your goal here is to find the emotional roots that are lying beneath your interest. Finally, we arrive at the connection stage of the mirror method, and this is where the dots start to align a little more. You've cataloged your interest, uncovered your initial whys, And now it's time to connect them to the bigger picture. Remember what the goal of the mirror method is. It isn't just to understand what interests you, but rather it's to recognize how your interests are reflections of your deeper self. That's like the mirror reflection. So let's look for themes in your answers. What values keep coming up? Are there certain emotional states that you are chasing or preserving? Draw a connection between your whys and what tethers them to your essence of interest. There's a pattern in your whys, and when you see it, there's something really powerful that occurs. You don't just know what you like, but you understand why you're wired the way you are. That knowledge gives you the direction needed to lead a more fulfilling and interesting life. You are creating an interest roadmap, one that is designed by and aligned with you. So real quick, I'm going to show you how this works in practice by putting myself in front of the glass. First, I'm going to start with the discover stage, and for simplicity's sake, I'm not going to create an extraordinarily long catalog of interest. I'm just going to do one interest. One of my long-standing interests is the NBA. Love basketball. More specifically, I love the Lakers. I am like a huge die-hard Lakers fan, so I'm insufferable sometimes. I want you guys need to know that. You have to know that about me. Now that I've made this discovery of my interest, I can move on to the discern stage. Because just knowing I like basketball doesn't reveal a lot about me. And if I stop taking interest in myself after this point, I'm not gonna learn a lot about myself. So instead, I'm gonna dig further and I'll ask, why does basketball interest me? A few initial whys surface. I realize that the Lakers connect me to a lot of nostalgia, moments in my childhood that I'll never get back. And even further, basketball reminds me of a bunch of fond memories, moments that I shared with friends growing up, on travel teams, practices where we went through tough times, fun times, just a lot of shared experiences. So I've surfaced a few initial whys, and now I'm at the connection stage. Here I can connect my whys to who I am fundamentally. So what I discover is this. What interests me in basketball is not just the simplicity of the sport, but rather I'm interested in these feelings it gives me. It brings me back to moments of camaraderie, makes me smile when I think about meaningful shared experiences. Thus, the deeper truth to this is I'm someone who values emotional connection and particularly enjoys moments that bond people. And recognizing these truths, I've now yielded the benefits of the mirror method. By running a single interest through the entirety of the mirror method, I've now expanded my interest roadmap and have an understanding over how I can follow it to create a more interesting life. Knowing that I treasure moments where I'm bonding with people, if I want to make my life more interesting, then I should fill it with more moments that cultivate shared, meaningful experiences. So, in short, discovery, I like basketball. Discernment, it brings me back to meaningful moments with others. Connection, I'm someone who thrives on shared experiences. And now that I know that, I also know myself more. And guided by a deeper understanding of my interest, I now know how I can make my life more fulfilling. The mirror method can be a lot. To some, it might seem unnecessary, but I love going deep. Pause. I know we got deep into the weeds of the mirror method, but it was important that we do that because it helps underscore what the initial theme of this essay was. That exercise was sort of a brute force approach towards cementing the feeling that you are the most interesting thing in the universe. Because when you do these introspective exercises, it allows you to see how interesting you are and how interesting your life can be. And even further, it helps you see how you can optimize your life for enjoyment by recognizing the variables that produce it. And subsequently, that allows for you to derive enjoyment more easily from within rather than being put into a state where you are searching for enjoyment externally in the universe. I've been recognizing the importance of this more and more lately, which is why I'm writing this and talking to you about it. As I'm getting older, I'm realizing how many more experiences I have to create for myself. And I know I'm probably far more likely to create them if I'm more interested in who I am. I know at first this idea that you are the most interesting thing in the universe might seem like a bit self-indulgent, but that's really not the intention at all. This idea is actually very similar to perspectives that have been offered by other philosophers like Soren Kierkegaard. He believed that the meaning of life is not found in some grand external truth, but instead it's found from within, through the unique way you interpret and experience the world. He called this idea subjective truth, which is the belief that meaning is not universal, it's personal. What makes your life meaningful isn't anything out there, it's you. It's what you engage with, choose to care about, and choose to become. Kierkegaard also once said that the task must be made difficult because difficulty inspires the noble-hearted. So I'm putting a difficult task in front of you. To see yourself as the source of interest and as the creator of your life's meaning, which isn't an easy pursuit, but it's a highly noble one. Imagine living life like you truly believed you were the most interesting thing in the universe. Would you waste time doubting yourself? Would you silence your curiosities or stray away from the things that inspire you? I don't fucking think so. If you truly knew, if you truly accepted that you were the most interesting thing in the universe, you would study yourself all day and learn as much as you can about you. And if you believe that, not only would it create a more fulfilling life for you, it would also mean that the only way you would ever understand the universe is by fully understanding yourself. I plead that you approach life with the confidence that everything you pursue and everything you explore matters because it reflects your essence. I urge you to pursue what fascinates you, to believe that you are the most interesting thing in the universe because the universe could not be interesting without you. You carry the essence of interest. And when you embrace this power, your world will expand. Everything will become extraordinary because finally, you'll be seeing the universe through the most interesting lens there is. You. That was a long video, and I am not certain that anyone made it to the end. But if you did, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, entertaining my wacky ideas, and I truly hope that you were able to come away from this with just a little bit more excitement to learn more about yourself, because you deserve that. I truly believe that. This was an essay that I also wrote on my Substack, so plug there if you want to go check it out. If this found you and this resonated with you, thank the universe, thank whoever, and I hope you know that I mean everything I said, and I do think you're the most interesting thing in the universe, and I hope soon enough you see that too. So, thank you. I believe in you. I hope you have a wonderful day.